I woke up in the middle of the night with such anxiety. I could feel that my blood pressure was very high. So I think my channel may give the misconception that I am fearless because I go on all these travels and I experience all these wonderful things that I love, but the fact of the matter is I am a person who's a little riddled with anxiety, and I actually get very anxious before any big trip, and I can't really look at a newspaper or talk to a person without hearing about COVID-19 these days, and one of the places that's been hit the hardest is my hometown of New York City. Why don't I rewind back to sort of the beginning? It's like 8:30 in the morning right now, and the line for Costco is literally the length of a block. Check it out. I skipped the Costco line and headed to Target, where the medicine aisle had been nearly cleaned out. By the time I got out, it was still an hour before Costco was set to open, and the line had doubled around the block. So I just arrived in Soho. I want to return something that I bought a couple weeks ago. And it's like a ghost town here. There's like no cars. When I biked here from my home in East Harlem, and I was running every red light because I could. There were no cars. So, kind of spooky. It seems like the further you go downtown, the less people you see. Kind of tells you something about the fear level. A lot of the labs I use for my work, I do microfabrication, have closed, but my offices are still technically open. So I've spent the past couple days just really trying to get all the lab work I can do done so I don't have to go in for a while, at least until the labs open again. And I want to get out of New York City before something like a stay-in-place order is mandated, because I am so afraid of being stuck here. And I have a history of exercise-induced asthma that I'm afraid that could be really bad if I had COVID-19. And so I'm afraid that if I'm stuck in New York City, I might not be able to get medical care. And my fiance lives in DC. He has a car. Things aren't as bad there. So I just want to get to him before they stop taking trains there, before I can get a train there, just in case I need to be able to get to medical care or if something happens. I also just don't want to be alone. So there's been talk that in the next 48 hours that the mayor may implement a stay-in-place policy where you're basically on lockdown in your home and you're only allowed to leave for very specific reasons. And I'm pretty sure when that happens, the trains out of New York are probably going to stop. The flights are probably going to stop. And I found this out last night, and I was thinking of leaving last night, but it was so dark, I thought it would be better to sleep. I don't know if that was the right decision, because I had the hardest time sleeping. I woke up in the middle of the night with such anxiety. I could feel that my blood pressure was very high, but I have a train today, and I'm going to bike down there so I can avoid using the subway. And I'm really praying that I can get to DC without a hitch, but we'll see how it goes. Made it on the train. I'm in the quiet car. The weekend after I got to DC was peak bloom for cherry blossom season, which is one of the most popular things in Washington, DC. So we decided to take a drive by the Tidal Basin to see how things were looking. And there were actually a ton of people walking around the Tidal Basin and enjoying the cherry blossoms. I'm sure it was a lot less than normal, but I was still shocked at the crowds of people. morning, nomads. It's Sunday, March 22nd, and I'm currently in Washington, D.C. You can see behind me that the cherry blossoms are in peak bloom. I feel like the panic here is a little behind where people are in New York because people are still out and about at the stores and very close to each other. As of today, over 8,000 people in New York City have been diagnosed with COVID-19, and that's just people who have been tested, so that means there's probably plenty more who haven't been tested. And over 60 people have died. And tonight, as of 8 p.m., they're implementing a not shelter in place, but something very similar, where if you're not an essential worker, if you're not delivering food, if you're not working in a hospital, you need to be home, and you can only go out for groceries or a short amount of exercise. There's no penalty on individuals for being out, only penalties for businesses. So technically you can do whatever you want, but it's still a very scary time in New York. And I think the trains are all still running, so if you're in New York and you want to get out, you still can. But I'm glad that I got out when I did, because it just feels a little calmer here. I have access to a little more things, and it's really beautiful. This is just the backyard, so I don't have to go far to see some beautiful sights and feel safe. Today is March 23rd. And I decided to run by the Tidal Basin to see if there's a lot of people, and there's actually tons of police cars, police tape blocking you from getting next to the Tidal Basin and the cherry blossoms, and lots of police cars. New developments since Saturday when there were tons of people around the Tidal Basin. So today is Thursday, and I've been in Washington, D.C. a little over a week, and last night they implemented a lockdown similar to the one in New York City, where non-essential employees are required to stay put at home. And it looks like things are going to be locked down for a while. I still have travel vlog content to share with you. I went to Norway before things started getting crazy, so I'm going to share some of that content over the next couple of weeks. And if you like this video, please like and subscribe and hit the bell to be notified when new videos are available.